We are thrilled, by the way, to welcome Erica Denney to the show. Many of you guys already know Erica, as Dave does very well. Sorry that Dave is sick today, Erica. He's got a little bit of the COVID. We told him if he comes into the studio, we're going to run him up the street. Freight planner, freight mobility, and safety branch for the Colorado Department of Transportation. It is good to have you. Welcome to Nemo Nation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Sorry to hear that Dave is feeling under the weather, but you're right. It's better to keep him home so he can rest up so you guys can also feel good through the week.
Yeah, and we got and a couple of us have to travel, so I'm like going, don't. I told him point blank. I said, if you get near me, I'm going to have to call your daughter, my wife, and tell her that you're up on your feet. I'm going to no. I'm like, do not come by this studio. CSP.colorado.gov. You've got some content that you guys are pushing out there. In the hopes that folks will actually check it out and have it make a difference in their day-to-day journey stuff. Where would you like to begin? Because there's a whole bunch of places I could jump in, but I'd rather give you the choice.
Goodness. I mean, I think we both would probably tap on very similar topics if we were to, pull straws. But, one of the things that we're pushing right now, as we do every single summer here in the state of Colorado, is the importance of, understanding how to navigate our high country through I-70 specifically, going through the mountains, mountain passes, and understanding that, never speed, not anything anybody doesn't already know. We don't want to speed. Everybody goes, along with the speed limit because that's what is identified as a safe use of the roadway and what's around the roadway, et cetera. But the summertime here in Colorado is so unfortunately renowned for hot breaks, and speeding is something that the Colorado State Patrol is pushing extra hard right now in trying to mitigate against, because as soon as you start speeding, you will that much quicker lose your brakes. If you lose your brakes, well, it could lead to a number of disastrous potential alternatives, when you get down to the bottom of a major decline in a mountain pass. So, would love to talk about, mitigating speeding, would love to talk about, if you lose your brakes, what to do, how to help mitigate, et cetera. So wherever you might want to just dive in, I'm happy to talk more in depth.
Well, the thing that I was most impressed about with all this stuff is that as we take it all, speeding, hot brakes, runaway truck ramp usage, the mountain rules video, and the in-cab messaging, these are not separate entities. This is an interconnectedness, and this all kind of adds up. That if you fix one, you fix the other. That in order to kind of make a positive change in one, you've actually got to address all of these issues into one big kind of thing. If you do the maintenance, the brakes hold. If you don't speed, you don't put yourself in a position where the brakes wear, and on we go. Can you kind of unpack the way you kind of pulled all these together?
Sure. A little bit of backstory. So the way that Colorado is set up for my position within Colorado Department of Transportation versus Colorado State Patrol, we are separate entities. You've got the State Patrol, of which they are the enforcement arm within our state, helping to keep those on the roadway safe. And then you got the CDOT, the DOT here in Colorado, where we are trying to manage our infrastructure. So we don't really have much of the enforcement respect at all, because that is what Colorado State Patrol is here for. However, with our group specifically within CDOT, the Freight Mobility and Safety Branch, we talk every single day with our State Patrol friends as well as our Port of Entry friends. And we are constantly working together to try and figure out how do we help mitigate and educate and push out messaging to those coming, not even just Colorado drivers. Of course, those are always the target that we wish to have as an audience, but those who are coming through our state who may not have been through here before, or maybe are only, a couple times a year, or maybe they're just starting with their CDL and they're trying to figure it all out. So, we're always working together and collaborating, trying to find ways that we can make sure people understand, we're not saying don't speed because we don't want you to speed and that's, it. It does, as you mentioned, lead to so many more issues with complex roadways such as I-70 in the Colorado mountains. You speed, let's back up. You're going up the hill, you're trying to get up a mountain pass, you're trying to get to the Eisenhower Johnson Memorial Tunnel, you've slowed way down, suddenly you're thinking, man, I'm running behind, I'm not going to make it to my delivery. Oh, wait, here I go down this hill, I'm just going to make up a little bit of time I'll be just fine. I got it under control. And then that is where suddenly you go, oh no, I'm smelling my brakes. Either my brakes are squealing. I'm seeing some smoke. It's getting soft. Oh no, what do I do? You know, you get into that scenario, which you want to obviously avoid. But if you do hit that scenario, we do have runaway truck ramps, right? And, you know, one of the things that we are always trying to make sure people understand is that if you do hit a runaway truck ramp, one of the 12 within our state, you will not be cited for using said ramp. They are there for safety. They are there for a last-ditch effort of, I'm in a bad situation. So please, please, please do not be afraid of using those if necessary. The only thing that you will be on the hook for is likely a tow bill to get you out. We can't help you with that part, unfortunately. But, you know, we want you to be able to utilize the assets that we have. But on the same token, we don't want you in that situation. Nobody wants to be in that situation. We want to take it slow, steady, and safe for the long haul. You know, as we kind of say during some of our promotional educational efforts, and you know, it is all connected. We've got plenty of locations where you can pull off and cool your brakes. You know, a lot of the winter use chain stations are a short-term brake check station during the summer months, which if you have driven along the I-70 corridor or other corridors throughout our mountain state, you know, you'll see plenty of those chain stations all over the place. And please, please, please feel free to use those, check them, sit there, wait for them to cool. Much better to play it safe than the alternative of, you know, having to use a ramp, or worse, if you miss the ramp and have to figure out what the heck to do next, which nobody wants.
I'm going to, and like I said, I've always been kind of fascinated with public service announcements because often people, and many of our listeners, are such experienced drivers and such safe drivers. And, well, you know, why is this important to me? Slow down, gear down, pace the road, protect the load. And we can follow up by saying that crashes are not accidents, and we should not refer to them as such. Very rarely are there accidents. Accidents are when a tree literally falls into the road and nobody saw it coming. That's an accident. Most of what we're talking about here is easily preventable. And these sort of slogans, which are not empty slogans because they're actionable items, slow down, gear down, pace the road, protect the load, that the experienced drivers who often want to communicate to the younger drivers or people who might have bad habits developed, these are really easy and communicable catchphrases that can sum up what people need to know as they begin to make their way down the 70, right? And up the 70.
Absolutely.
And all around
Yeah.
the 70. And, you know, I mean, in all the places. But I do think it's such an important thing to point out to people because the idea of you will not be penalized other than having to pay for the tow, which, by the way, is a lot less expensive than your life, to use those runaway ramps. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand. And that really is where your job comes in, to make sure the men and women know if it's the moment of last resort, and hopefully it never comes to that, you still have one more option that you will not be penalized for. You'll be celebrated for saving lives, correct?
Absolutely. You absolutely nailed it on the head there.
So let me ask you a
Yeah.
question. How do you affect this policy? You got about only a minute and a half, man. I'm telling you, Nemo Nation flies fast and furious. But how do you really press in to make sure this happens?
We have a couple of different options. One of those being the Mountain Rules, which you mentioned earlier. That is a educational video series that we have put out in partnership with Colorado State Patrol, Ports of Entry, as well as Colorado Motor Carriers Association, so our state association. Those videos can be found on YouTube as well as on our website, which is freight.colorado.gov. You can find all of those resources. We have plenty of 1 to 2 page flyers and handouts. We have them in English, Spanish, Russian. We want to make sure that this is something that can be absorbed by anyone and everyone on the road. Additionally, something new that we have as you know, an option for folks that we're really hoping that everybody is willing to jump in on is through a partnership with DriveWyze. We have in the state a in-cab communications effort going out to where we are able to set up geofence locations, such as when you're coming out of the Eisenhower Johnson Memorial Tunnel, you've just made it up one of these major passes, you're about to start coming down. We have a set geofence where it's going to pop up on your ELD if you sign up for this, and it's going to say, hey, you know, steep grades ahead, please slow down, be prepared. Additionally, when we have emergency situations, especially in the wintertime, if I-70 is closed, if we have a nasty storm coming in, we want to make sure and notify you. We will notify folks all the way out in Nebraska, Kansas, New Mexico, our bordering states, so that you can make the decision of making potentially an alternative route instead of coming through a bogged down, snow-filled I-70. And this sign-up page is actually also found on our website, freight.colorado.gov. We have a button on our homepage that takes you to the page that has this free in-cab alert. And again, it's free, no cost to you. And we are managing to make sure we don't flag you and harass you with notifications all the time. I know that drivers get bombarded with things coming to their devices. So only the most important critical elements do we want to make sure that you guys are aware right in your cab as you're going down the road. So freight.colorado.gov, please check it out and sign up for these in-cab messages if you have not done so already.
Freight Planner, Freight Mobility and Safety Branch, Colorado Department of Transportation, which, by the way, you can find them, as was mentioned earlier, at csp.colorado.gov. Erica Denney, thank you so much for making the time and making our roads a whole lot safer. The next time we talk, we're going to talk about why it is that you have so many plates from Texas, Georgia, Florida, making your way through the state. I know why, but it's a really fun conversation. Thank you, Erica, and you be safe out there as well, okay?
Thank you. Have a great week.
You too.